All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. Julie Kay here. It is 3 o'clock, just at the top of the hour. We've had a lot going on nationally today, so we're going to get back locally here in Charlotte. This, though, impacts multiple regions. This is an investigation from our Nate Morabito, a company accused of preying on aspiring black business owners here in North Carolina and across the Southeast, it seems like, must now face a $2 million fine or close. So Nate is here with us. Nate, I know that this is a part of a larger investigation with multiple stations. So what can you tell people about just what happened here, what you guys uncovered?
Yeah, I mean, so this is really over the last course of the year has really turned into something that business owners were hoping and trying to avoid, basically. Mm-hmm. A year ago, yesterday, I interviewed a woman by the name of Marjorie Stewartson. She's a local entrepreneur who opened a beauty supply shop on Beatties Ford Road. She opened it in early 2024, and she contracted with a company called Beauty Supply Institute, based out of Atlanta, to basically invest money to the company, and in return, the expectation was this company was going to help her start this business. They'd provide the infrastructure, they'd provide the supplies. And only part of that, she says, turned out to be true. She was basically given shelving, but no supplies. And so over the course of several months, she had to make a decision that she needed to buy her own supplies, which, if you can imagine, spending more than $70,000 to begin with to contract with a company, and then on top of that, going into debt to buy your own supplies that you supposedly already paid for. And then you don't get the best supplies, you have people coming in looking for stuff. It wasn't really a business model that was going to work. Mm-hmm. And so in August of this year, after much effort to try and stay open, she had to close. And a few months prior to that, she sued Beauty Supply Institute. In the meantime, our partners at WXIA 11 Alive in Atlanta and WTSP in Tampa were working on a similar story about other people in their neck of the woods who also did business with this company, entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs who were basically promised this company was going to come in and help them achieve their dream. And in some form or the other, these people, dozens of them from across the country, said essentially BSI, Beauty Supply Institute, didn't meet its end of the bargain. So in the meantime, this company's in Atlanta. Remember, our entrepreneurs here in Charlotte. And the Attorney General there in Georgia takes notice of all these complaints. In fact, credits the reporting of our company as a whole in making some kind of impact here, and says, you're going to reach a settlement with us, to this company and its founder, and either you're going to close, cease all operations in Georgia, or you're going to be fined $2 million. It's complicated because the goal here from the AG is to prevent future harm. But what about the people that have already reportedly been victimized, like Marjorie Stewartson? James, I don't know, did I separate the sound between Marjorie and her attorney, or are they all one clip here?
I believe it is one clip, about 50 seconds long.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to Lawrence Wooden, Marjorie's attorney, and Marjorie Stewartson. And I want you to kind of understand that Marjorie put everything into this business. She has kids. She's an immigrant from Haiti. She was trying to build a generational wealth plan for her family. And it really is heartbreaking. We talked to her attorney and her via Zoom today. She's not feeling well, so we did it over Zoom. Heartbreaking to see kind of the consequence of this business not working out for her family. So let's take a listen to both of them really quickly, and then we can kind of follow back up.
I'm saddened for her. It's a tough situation. Anytime people want to be entrepreneurs and business owners, they put their trust in others who want to help them do that. And so Marjorie was a person who was driven, who wanted to establish her own business, to work for herself, to provide in her community. And she put her trust in a company that didn't have her best interests at heart.
This business divided my family. We divided. It's financially, it's like it's a breakup. Because my daughter is supposed to start college, which I can't help her at all. The business take everything.
That's really difficult sound to listen to, ending on that they take everything.
It makes me really sad, actually,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking about this woman came to our country in search of the American dream. She worked in our country and then said, I'm going to start my own business because I want to help my family. And then it backfires. And now her daughter, who she was trying to help, needs to go to college and she can't afford it.
She's
It's-
left with this debt.
It's painful. It really is painful. And that's why she's suing this company. You know, this company a year ago basically told me through their attorney, you know, he was still trying to figure this out, but basically kind of, and I'm paraphrasing, got in a little bit too deep as far as the finances and all that kind of thing. He had previously told our content partner in Atlanta, the founder, that this was business. This has never been anything nefarious. This is just a business situation that has kind of been hard to manage. And ultimately, what this settlement in Georgia does is it protects people in the future, but it does nothing for those people like Marjorie. And her attorney told me earlier today, I mean, that's really, we need restitution for these people because they've lost everything in this situation. And so you're going to hear from him and more from her tonight at 11 as we report on this topic. You know, our Attorney General is aware of some complaints in North Carolina and has been working behind the scenes to kind of mediate that, but has not taken any real stance.
Right.
And I think you'll hear from Lawrence, the attorney, that basically he doesn't feel like the AG in Atlanta and Georgia went far enough. But this is complicated, too. We don't know how much money the BSI founder and this company has anymore. You know, who knows if they're able to make even the penalty if, you know, they're ordered to close and they don't close. So it's very difficult because often in these situations you have people that are left in the wake.
Yeah.
And so Marjorie has got a new job now. This is not a person who's sitting around waiting for someone to come and swoop in and rescue her here. She's a hardworking person and part of our community and was trying to meet a need of our community, actually, you know, in the black community, trying to offer products
Yeah.
that are needed. And turns out she had a great location, a great idea. She had a huge investment, but not the partner she expected. And I think this is the most important part. She's not the only one.
I think what's so interesting too, and I'm glad you mentioned we don't know how much money this company currently has. We don't know even if they were to pay this $2 million, not that that would necessarily help her at this point, if they even have that. But I am surprised because I feel like we've had this conversation a lot about all of your stories that I'll ask, well, what is the person or the organization that may be in the wrong? What have they said? Often you say they don't respond to you at all or they say nothing, especially if it's over multiple months. I'm surprised that they have been in contact with not just you, but also the station in Atlanta.
They had previously.
Yeah.
This was a year ago when
Okay.
they talked, right? And I reached out to the attorney and to the founder yesterday, and I gave them basically 24 hours to respond before our story aired. And I hadn't heard back from either of them. The email to the founder of BSI bounced back as the email address doesn't even work anymore.
Oh, interesting.
So the last time, if I can recall, I feel like I had to call the attorney too to make sure that we could really understand anything, you know, from their perspective. But if you look at the settlement, there is or appears to be a good faith effort to say, we know that this is serious. We are going to agree to something to try and remedy this situation. They acknowledge no violation of anything in the settlement. That's a big part of it. And the Attorney General in Georgia says, we're not going to take this any further because of this settlement. That's part of the agreement, too. So it's kind of like, I don't know, a place marker to some degree.
Yeah. And
This is where this ends for these people in this business. In the future, there shouldn't be an issue, at least there. Who knows if they'll come into another state? I kind of don't think so because of how much financial trouble they seemed to be in before.
right.
But what about those people now in the legal system? And, you know, I know people can secure judgments, but even then, if you file a suit, there's no real guarantee you're going to get paid. So, you know, this is an effort, and I really think this was special, and you don't really hear this all that often, but in Marjorie's case, her attorney didn't tell me this. She told me. This attorney has said, I'm not going to charge you anything up front because I want to help you, and I feel bad for your situation. You know, if it works out, that there's some kind of judgment or settlement, then he'll take care of his side of things. But I thought that was a real good indication of how wrong he feels she was treated in this case. And again, it just goes back to, she came here for opportunity into our country, and a company that was run on the foundation of we want to support and uplift the black community has failed many of those people.
You mentioned she had all this, not just financial investment, but emotional investment in this project, and she didn't have the partner she deserves. It's nice to see that she's kind of gotten some more support now. Of course, that doesn't make up for what has happened, but to have an attorney who seems to be in really good faith working for her is good to hear.
It's good to hear, especially when you hear that there's this strain on the family now.
Yeah.
Everybody started with this idea that this was going to be great, and it turned out to be much less than great. And now they have to live with that. And, I just can't put into perspective, these are people's lives, right? They've invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. And I'll tell you, too, our photographer, Pierre, who initially worked on this story with me, he was so touched by this, he kept going back to that store. He was trying to buy products and have his friends buy products there. That's the kind of guy Pierre is. I mean, that's the kind of people we work with,
Yeah.
right? But it just goes to show that you can sense when you meet this woman that she really is trying.
Yeah.
And here's how she left the conversation today, which says everything you need to know about her. She says, there's going to be a miracle. I still have hope there will be. It's exactly what she told me a year ago. And the fact that she's still staying optimistic, to me, is unbelievable. And I hope for her sake it's true.
Does her attorney have as much hope?
I think, yeah. I mean, if you look at what's in the lawsuit that they filed, they're arguing there was a breach of contract. They're arguing basically this company act as an attorney to help give her counsel and guidance on a lease that they weren't really authorized to do. So there's some accusations in there that they feel like the settlement helps bolster too. That Georgia felt like they were breaking some of the rules there. That's why they did this. So yeah, I think he has some faith that they're going to at least get her to a point that she was before she made the investment. She may not get all the money she put into it. He estimated about $100,000 in all they sunk into this. But at least that $70,000 investment, it's just so much money. It is so much money.
Generational impact money, as we
Yes.
talked about. So it's really hard to hear.
It is. It's just, it hurts my heart. And I've stayed in contact with her a lot over the last year, and just curious where this was going to go. And I don't think at any point she was really sure it'd go to this legal point. Like, I don't think that was her goal at the beginning. She just wanted her products. I think she wanted a refund. And apparently that hasn't happened. And so she felt like she was left with no choice but to do this. And really, how do you move forward? How do you recover from something like this without a little help from the legal system? We'll see what the company ultimately argues when they answer the complaint. They hadn't yet when I last checked. In some of these cases, they argued that the customer breached the contract. Something that the attorney told me today, and granted, he's an attorney, this is his business, but he said, if people are making huge investments, they really should be consulting with an attorney. If you're going to enter a large contract with someone, having that conversation can at least guide you along the way, and maybe it can allow the attorney to talk with the other company and maybe get some additional insight. They felt they did the research in this case, Marjorie's family. They felt they did. They didn't feel like, they were going to fall victim to something. They were acting in good faith, she told me. And I just feel bad for her, as she enters this point in her life where she's closer to retirement. Now she has to work. Her retirement money's gone, right? Her
Yes.
savings are gone.
So
Her kid
upsetting.
needs to go to school. And now she's going back to the grind of a job she had many years ago.
To have hope through all that is very inspiring. And I know everyone who sees the story at 11 will be wishing the best for her and
Yeah.
hoping for some resolution here. I know we'll have more updates going forward.
For sure, and I think you can't help but root for this person. She really seems to be trying hard. And her attitude, again, despite all of it, is what to me is the takeaway. Maybe we all can learn a little bit something from that,
Yeah, I think that's really what's going to stick with people tonight.
the perspective, right?
All right, well, Nate, thank you. That's going to air at 11. Really emotional story there that I think people will be really looking forward to not just see, but also the updates. We're going to take a quick break, but we've got some more national headlines to get to in the next 2 minutes.